everyone. You're going to have to give me a second to get myself back together. I just experienced an introvert's nightmare. Not only was the computer not working, but I don't understand what people are saying to me. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And this leads right into the whole community engineering thing. What is this thing? Why are we here? Okay. I always start with, again, I'm just walking this energy off because I'm just right now. So I just need to walk this energy off a little bit. So my name is Crayton, and I can be found on Twitter. That's basically the only place that I want to be found. And if you're not active on Twitter in tech, you need to be. So I usually make people take out their phones and download Twitter if they have not done so and start an account, and I am your first tweet. And I just redid my website. It's a work in progress. But I also do this. I like to let people know who I am because there's someone in the audience always who's like, who is she? What is she, what can she tell me? So I have a master's in training and development. I've worked with learners of all ages, all abilities. I'm a certified special needs teacher, and I taught high school. I'm currently pursuing a doctor's of business administration. I'm finished with my coursework, and I'm working on my research, and my research is successful strategies for increasing organizational knowledge sharing. And while I'm doing that, I'm also writing a book based on a post that I wrote, How to Leverage Organizational Culture for a Competitive Advantage. Said all that to say, this is what this is. So I didn't give myself this title. I was at a closure conference, and they were like, hey, we're software engineers. Work you do, I think you should call yourself a community engineer. Well, I'm in Medellin. Yes, did I say? Besides hola and gracias, this is about all the Spanish I know. All right. So I'm in Medellin, and words are important. We want all to make sure if I say a word, that we have the same definition of the word, right? Because we don't want to start with saying a word, and then 2 hours later, we realize we're saying have a different definition. So I'm a word person. So when I looked up community, I see it as the heart, the H-E-A-R-T of things, people's values, what they believe in, their mission. But without the engineering part, a lot of values, a lot of missions, you see it in nonprofits, they go under. So it is the being able to operationalize, being able to turn a vision, a mission into something that can be measured, because if you cannot measure it, it really doesn't exist. And so it's the heart and soul of what I do. So this is my definition of community engineering report. And I'm just going to shout out right now that I hear the translations going on, and I commend people who do simultaneous translations. I just don't get it. I mean, that's just a skill. If he said something to me and I had to at the same time in here, I'd just be lost. I'd just be like, well, I think he said that thing, but so I just wanted to give out a shout out to those people because that is a part of, yes. That is a huge part of how we improve inclusion and diversity in tech. We have to make sure that people who don't just speak English are able to understand what's going on. So this is, again, this definition of everything I say, it kind of looks like it's going this way, but it kind of goes that way. All right, so to me, I define community engineering as the intentional and skillful effort of creating environments which support the sharing of common attitudes, interests, and goals in order to grow a more inclusive and diverse technology community. We've all heard the stories. Well, maybe, I can't make an assumption. I'm in a whole other country. Well, you're on Twitter. You've read the stories of how toxic the technology industry can be. I'm sure you've experienced them. I'm sure we've had issues with gender, race, language, time zones, all kinds of things. And this is what my job is to do. So I want to take a segue back because I recently wrote a post literally 2 days ago called, I Don't Do Non-Technical Talks. And that's because we as a community don't value what people like myself do. We value programming because that's a tangible thing. But, excuse me guys, without people like me, your communities would be even more toxic than they already are. And not everybody can do what I can do. So I figure I have a damn technical skill, you know? So this is why we need community engineering. Since technology literally touches everybody. Now, I'm not going to read this. I know this stuff by heart. Okay, these slides, just a little clue you in, they help me know where I am because I just ad-lib the whole thing. Okay, so community engineering is needed because this technology touches everything. There is not one industry, not one, that there is not technology. And so when we're creating products and services for a global market, we need to make sure that people are included who can help create products and services that meet the needs of a global market. So in the US, we always talk about the white man. Oh, everybody's pissed off at the white man. I am so sorry for you white guys, because well, really I'm not. Because for the first time, you're kind of feeling just a bit of what everybody else in the world is feeling. And so, but I empathize, I can do that, because you're not the enemy. It's just you wrote the rules, it's been your world, and you've been playing by your rules. And you make them up as you go. Oh my God, you just make them up. Oh, that doesn't exist, let's make that up. But what happens is now, your opinion, your perspective is not the only one we need to ensure that we're creating things that work for everybody. We need other people at the table. We need other perspectives at the table, and not only at the table, because that's just diversity. So sitting at the table means absolutely nothing if your voice is not heard, which is inclusion. So that's why I do what I do. But there's a problem. They keep screwing this stuff up. They just keep screwing this stuff up. They have good intentions, and I'm not talking white men here, I'm just talking people. You know, your Ubers, your Google manifestos, your Node.js community that blows up online. People have good intentions. They just don't know what the hell they're doing. And so what happens is, you know, when people say, oh, I want a more inclusive, let's use this conference as an example. This organizing team did a great job of making sure that there was diversity and inclusion on the stage. I always talk about diversity and inclusion are not just age and gender. There are all these other things that leave people out. So when I went to Bochum, Germany to speak, to tell them that they need people of color when on their software development teams would be like nonsense, because there are no people of color in Bochum, Germany. So now I'm saying you now have to import people to put, so that doesn't make sense. So inclusion and diversity has to be situation specific. So even in this community, you guys are Spanish speakers. So it's, what do we talk about with inclusion and diversity here beyond gender? Well, it may be, how do we get the larger population to create stuff in Spanish, maybe? You know, just a little bit. Instead of forcing you guys, give me an amen, there you go. There you go. Instead of forcing everybody in the world to speak English. For me, that's easier, because then that means, okay, I know you understand me. I don't have to understand you, but I know you understand me. But that's one thing so I want to talk about this here. Why people but they make these assumptions. So I'm going to use the United States as my thing here. We're making assumptions. They know who we are, they know what we do, and they'll figure it out. Let's say we want people from Medellin, or just Colombia, period. more Spanish-speaking people in the technology, in coding, and whatever. They know who we are. That's a bit arrogant. If you're doing outreach to people, you need to go where the people are instead of assuming that they're going to come to you. You need to make the effort to do what needs to be done to make sure that the people, if you're saying you need more Spanish-speaking Colombian people, does that sound Colombian people? Okay, I apologize if I offend. I'm just like all over the place here. So, but we need to do some things to make sure that we go to them. Don't assume that's arrogant. I'm over here. Oh, they know who we are. Yeah, I'm just waiting. But they're not coming. So they're obviously not interested in doing this because they're not coming. That's a really bad assumption. Or they know what we do. We're very arrogant about that. Who are we to say that you have to know what I do? If I'm genuinely interested in including you in what I'm doing, I need to know what you do. It's not about me. It's about you and what you can bring to the table to help our communities. And the last thing is, they'll figure it out. I can tell you, being here, I've been in 2 foreign language speaking countries for me in the last 30 days, Germany and now here. This is a humbling experience. This is an overwhelming experience to be in a country. Your phone doesn't work. You can't get around. You don't know where to go. And you're by yourself. How the hell am I going to figure this out? In a rare moment of vulnerability, I tweeted something. I was like, man, and I was trying to be positive. It's hard. I mean, good. I don't feel like leaving my hotel room. Thankfully, part of the team reached out and said, hey, let's go for a walk. And at first I was like, no, I just don't have the energy. And then I was like, you know what, Kim? My philosophy is learn to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm going to tell you this. They're not about to change we're not about to change how we do things anytime soon. So you're going to have to learn to be comfortable with uncomfortable. I'm just letting you know that. That's just the way it is. We're going to continue to push this. You need to do it our way, but you're going to have to get out your comfort zone and push, no, you need to do it my way or our way. So I finally said, okay, I'll go for this little walk, and that was all I needed. I was able to walk. She lovely lady, took me and walked me around the block. That's all I did because now I would go outside the hotel, and I was like, oh, okay. And I ventured out on my own the next day. So it wasn't me figuring it out. Someone came and took my hand and said, let's go for a walk. This is the community you're in. These are the things that are around you. Did that go too far? No? Okay. So, other challenges. Not understanding the difference between inclusion and diversity, which I talked about. Not understanding the goals and perspectives of current communities are different from those who are there. Okay. I am a black woman from the South, and I don't know what you know about that, but slavery was rampant where you know I came from. So I never wanted to do inclusion and diversity because I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, where they wanted to separate the whites and the black, and these were in the 70s. So I had no real desire to come in inclusion and diversity because I didn't want to argue with people about race and gender. I lived that. So I was like, I don't want to do this again. So, but I had to figure out how I was going to do it to make it work for me. And that's what people who come into your communities need to understand. It's not my agenda. It's your agenda. What do you need to do to make you feel comfortable and safe in this space? Understanding the difference between, oh my Lord, this is a big one for me. Because no one wants to pay for what I do. No one wants to pay for this. Everybody wants to have somebody who does community work as a volunteer. They get burned out. Or as other duties as assigned. So you have a full-time 40-hour, 80-hour work week. Plus, we have some community stuff on the side for you to do. It is not sustainable. We need to put money in these things because we understand that whether it's a peso, whether it's a euro, or it's a US dollar, people value what they have with money. If I say this thing costs $1,000 and this thing costs $1, you're going to be questioned if that dollar thing is the same value as that $1,000 thing. So it's about putting our money where our mouths are. When you can put resources behind something, people understand that you believe in the commitment. Also, we have to overcome the mistrust in these communities. I can speak for as black female in the South. We are so used to people wanting to come in and be these white knights and save us. And that's how we ended up being experimented on and all these other kinds of things. So we don't trust, white people. We just don't. There's a history of that, and I'm part Native American. We just don't trust him. And so you have to understand that. And if you want to get offended by that, then that's your issue. But it's not to say, I'm not saying it's for you to be offended. I'm saying for you to be educated, and so you can know what what the boundaries or the barriers are going to be, and so you can be empathetic and understanding when people aren't coming to you. Because there are things that there is a history of mistrust. And I'm sure there's something about that here in Columbia. I was told that the upper class here wants to be European, the middle class wants to be like U.S. citizens, and the lower class wants to be like Mexicans. I'm like, damn, don't know why they want to be Colombian? And so these are some barriers. Lack of expertise. As I said, everybody cannot do my job. So why are you trying to let everybody do my job? I have very unique skill set. How many people you know have an undergraduate in interior design? So I understand about form, shapes, a master's in training and development, so I understand about professional development, writing curriculums, workshops, and getting a doctorate in business so I understand how businesses work. And I'm not talking about HR and marketing. I'm talking about the structures it takes for you to scale a business. How many people have, and so there are people working in this space just like me with these very unique skill sets, but you can't give this to somebody as an other duty as a sign, because a lot of people, one of the major skills I have is I can have very productive conversations with a lot of people that people don't want to talk to. It takes a lot of energy to talk to a jerk. But that jerk has some information they may need. So I need to be able to talk to them, get that information, and get out as quickly as I can. Again, I talked about the lack of support, a lack of authority. If these things have to come from the top. Organizational leaders, business leaders, entrepreneurs need to, these things are important for you, these have to come from the top, because what's happening is you have all these great people pushing on the bottom and getting burned out because nothing's happening, no changes are being made. These initiatives have to be supported from the top. And again, I talked about the lack of resources. So what I want to end with is telling you about some things that I'm working on that support community engineering. So I have two events coming up. The Inclusion Symposium is in April, and it will be in Atlanta. And what it is I'm inviting people who do the kind of work that I do. Again, we don't have an association. We don't have, like you have a JavaScript community. You have a Python community. We don't have an inclusion and diversity community, engineering community. And I want to create that. I want these people us to come together, look at the research, so we can start being very intentional about our messages. I also am doing a conference in Inclusion Conf in August. No offense, but if you're not a decision maker, you're not invited. Because what I want to do is invite all the executives who say these things are important to them to understand that they have to be at the table. They have to understand these issues, and you cannot delegate this to anybody else. You have to be able to pass this to say, this is what we believe in as an organization. These are the resources that we have. This is why this is going to affect our bottom line, because that's all I care about. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to argue with you on inclusion and diversity about politics and morals, because everybody has a different opinion about that. But when I talk to you about your business and your bottom dollar, people's ears open up. When I say that you cannot create products for a global market without people of various perspectives at the table, and that you're losing competitive advantage because another team is doing that, then people listen. I also am launching a online course because, believe it or not, guys, many of you are going to be out of job in 5-10 years. You're hired as programmers, as coders, as developers to solve problems. If you cannot effectively solve problems, there will be a robot who can. AI, machine learning, is happening. The GitHub CEO is leaving, and he said that's one of the things he wants to focus on, is how to get non-code people who cannot code so that code is not an issue and they can still create products and services. You need to be listening. If you are not a problem solver, your job will be gone. And also, this last thing that I'm doing is spawned by my experience here. I want to create, and I already created the GitHub page, I want to create a traveler's guide for people who are traveling to conferences internationally. Had I known that my phone was locked and that SIM card that the team bought me wouldn't work, I would have made other arrangements. I wouldn't have felt so isolated. These little things that people don't talk about, but when you're going to other countries, what are the things that I need to know when I come to Colombia for a conference? If I would have known that ahead of time, it would have made I would have been less stressed and less overwhelmed. And I know that I love to travel. If we want to have more inclusion and diversity in tech, we need to be able to reach out to those people who don't even like to travel. Because what it made me realize is if I could get this overwhelmed and isolated and want to stay in my room, and I like to do this, what about those people who don't? Or people who just they're not going to welcome me. I don't know what to do. I've never been out of my country. I don't know. So I want to create this thing. So if you have any tips on traveling to Colombia, Medellin, anything specific, anything general, please add it to the GitHub page because I want to create this document so that we're doing something proactively to improve inclusion and diversity in tech. And with that, I'll say thank you.
Hay otra conferencia de la familia de JSConf que organiza otro equipo que se llama JSConf Colombia. ¿Quiénes han ido a JSConf? ¿Quiénes van a ir el otro año? Todos, no, todo el mundo. JSConf es de cómo construir software a escala. Este año fue la primera edición. El próximo año es la segunda, ¿cierto? 2018. Y hay dos cosas. Primero, creo que acaban de lanzar el sitio web, donde tienen toda la información sobre las entradas, pero además tienen el Call for Proposals Open, ¿cierto? Entonces, se fue. No, sin audio. Solo deje. Les voy a matar. Sigamos. Algo que siempre hemos querido hacer, la razón por la cual hemos empezado muchos de estos eventos es porque queremos representación de colombianos en el panorama internacional de tecnología, ¿cierto? No queremos que la tecnología se escriba para nosotros, sino queremos ser parte de esto, activa. Para eso necesitamos generar espacios de participación. Entonces, una idea muy chévere que tuvo el equipo de JSConf este año es que van a hacer Lightning Talks. Entonces, van a recibir creo que 8 a 10 charlas de 10 a 15 minutos, únicamente para conferencistas colombianos y colombianas. Entonces, los queremos invitar a todos a que por lo menos envíen una propuesta, una idea, cualquier cosa de construir software a escala. Y lo que vamos a hacer, lo que yo le estaba diciendo a Caterina ahorita es que me voy a comprometer. Cualquier persona que nunca haya presentado una charla, estoy dispuesto a darles tanto tiempo como sea necesario para preparar esto y preparar las charlas y prepararles slide y practicar todo lo que quieran para que hablen. Entonces, por favor, manden una charla a JSConf 2018, el URL estaba en el video, pero ya no. Vayan a scaleconfco.com, ahí está toda la información y participen, ayúdenos a poner a Colombia afuera, para que no sea solo esa serie de Netflix. ¿Bien? ¿Quiénes van a hablar? ¿Quiénes van a mandar una charla? Me acaban de acordar que en el Facebook y en el Twitter de ScaleConf Colombia van a rifar, ¿cuántas boletas? Una por Facebook y una por Twitter. Entonces, yo iría a seguirlos porque es una conferencia muy